I like what you said last night, and as a Catholic, you may really appreciate that, all the I am statements that people take to be the personality when it's actually the I am is what he's referring to. I am the light of the world is one of them.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of others. What were the other ones?
I'm the way.
I am the way.
I am that I am.
That's the Old Testament.
That was the Old Testament. That was right. But yeah, I am the way. I am the light. I am the truth. And people thought he's talking about himself, but he's talking about the same as the Sargadatta talks about. Go back to that I am, that sense of presence, that awareness of being. And I and the Father are one.
Right.
Not talking again about himself. He's talking that knowingness of I as the primary thought, and that sense of presence are one and the same thing. It's pure non-duality. And in the Sermon on the Mount, one of the things he says there, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, what you shall drink, or what you shall wear. Your Father knoweth that you have need of these things, and it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Not something separate and apart from you, but that intelligence energy already knows before you think about it. And he says, which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his stature? So he's, in other words, he's saying you can think as much as you like. You can't grow another inch, or you can't do anything with it. The thought's not going to do it. It's the Father, if you like to put that term, that essence, that intelligence energy that's functioning. It's doing the works. I work, my Father works, and I work. But Father in me that doeth the works, or something like that. I forget it all now, I used to know.
And then the lilies of the field thing.
Yeah.
They
That's all
neither
time.
neither do they reap.
And Moses on the mountain, he's sitting on the mountain doing a bit of contemplating, and the thought comes to him, that little insights of these 10 commandments. And then the thought comes, you've got to go back and tell the people that. And he believes he's living it, or that's how it's translated anyway, that it was God speaking to him. And he says to him, well, who shall I say sent me? But I've got to go. And the voice says, well, tell them, I am sent you. I am is my name. And then Moses realises, Christ, he says, I am that I am. Not anybody else or anything. I am. I am that I am. The same I am that I am.
Why hasn't there been more?
More
people-
understanding of that?
In my story here, there's a history of people studying the Bible over and over and over, but not picking up this.
Because they're believing they're separate entities, they never looked around, they're ignoring their true nature and going into what's in there.
Right.
It's a simple, it's like what was Plato, is it? What was looking at a cave, and all this big mirror or whatever it is on the cave. And somebody, well, he gets the urge to turn around. And he turns around and he sees the whole universe or the world behind him. And we don't turn around. We're looking out there because of our conditioning to acquire, gain, amass, do whatever, and think we're going to become whole. Not if we turn around and investigate and we see we're never separate. Simple as that.
But Bob, we're all just taught, aren't we, in the Western world anyway? And I suppose I don't know too much about the Eastern ones really, but where you and I probably come from, that how could you be God?
Yes, that was, yes.
That's what?
Heresy, blasphemy.
Yes,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
you couldn't be God. And literally, I think there was one man in Melbourne at some stage walking around saying, I'm God, and they said he's mad and threw him into a mental asylum because he was saying he was God. Well, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but he was God, yeah. So you see, there's all this, you can't be that,
Right.
which keeps us all down.
Yeah, but that's ignoring the statement, God is one, God is all.
Yes.
Everybody says that, God is all, God is one. Then they're ignoring it.
Just lip
Believing there's
service.
God
So
in me.
they repeating quotes without ever, looking into those
Yes.
expressions and seeing what does that mean? What is that referring to? What is that pointing at when it says God is one, God is all? So what could all these parts be about? Are there really parts? Even without going to that degree. I mean, that's one of the things that broke me from my Christian Catholic background was that idea that God, the Creator, without even in the teaching of God being all that there was, and then He created the world and the universe, what did He create it from but Himself?
Yeah.
If there was nothing else but Him, the materials of creation are Himself somehow or other. So somehow or other He is in everything and is everyone, because there was nothing else to draw from. There wasn't another creation over there made by some other God. There's only one God. So He created from Himself. We are her essential nature, whatever.
And that's shown clearly where it says God created man in His image and likeness. Now the image and likeness of God is pure intelligence entity, and that's all it is. It's pure intelligence entity.
Right.
But we, the arrogant ego, when we believe in that ego, we think, oh yes, God is in the shape of a human form.
Right,
But He's not. It's just intelligence energy.
right.
But all these supposed priests and scribes and everybody have just carried that on because that gave them a power. They were a teacher and they taught this earthy sort of stuff,
But
you know.
to
And
go beyond that even,
yeah.
there's nothing created anyway.
No.
Nothing's ever been created.
No.
Well,
All
this,
appearance.
I sat down, I think yesterday next to you, what is the experience, as I would label it, is that I woke up, right?
Yeah.
Which of course is not true because I was always awake, but
You recognise your own natural
yes,
state.
I'm saying, have there through the centuries been many, many people that have done this and we're just not aware of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because like I'm not going to be walking and calling my mother tonight and saying, hey, guess what? You know, so, okay.
Yes, they're down to many.
Because otherwise, my Catholic heritage is saying, again, why me?
Right.
Why not? Why not?
Well, everyone is.
Why am I recognizing
If
that?
there's a one, but you know, everyone that
Yes.
we would label as separate is, just is.
Yes.
So why me? Everyone is. And you
It's
just
not,
have
it's
to.
not a real promotion.
And it's almost like a seeing, yeah, as if there were what are the things that a cataract over your eye.
Right.
Is only a comparative way, because even you know it, but you don't know that you know it.
Right.
It's the ego that keeps making it into a promotion and somehow making it
Yes,
better than what
I've
the others
found
are who haven't got that cataract removed or whatever. We're better somehow or other. That's part of the old thing of becoming enlightened. You'd be better and different, and you know, there was some ego attachment for me. I suspect, you know, that's what the mind does. It divides, and they're over there, I'm over here, I'm separate and better. There's a betterness about that conversation somehow or other.
Yeah, well, my betterness, though, is like, okay, we all in this room are psychotic, you see.
Uh-huh.
We are the ones under some psychotic illusion, because obviously the majority of the world is not thinking this way. Therefore, the minority must be.
Well, it would certainly be ruled as such by some authorities, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you were starting to get powerful with this knowledge and it's written the majority, they do something to stop it. That's what's happened. That's what
Most
happened to
people
Jesus.
most people would take this conversation as totally delusional.
Yeah.
Well, a simple looking and a simple investigation, you'll see that the false can't stand up to it. They've only got to look.
No argument here.
See, is there anything within you, any thought that has any independent nature? How many thoughts can you have if you're not conscious or aware? Is that delusional to say that there's no entity there? Simple, because the entity is made up of a thought. So I am is the primary thought. We add to that I am this, I am that, I am the other, and believe that is what we are, a group of concepts of thoughts. And none of that belief could be happening if I wasn't conscious or aware. That's nothing delusional about that.
Makes sense to me.
And you know, it's interesting. It occurs to me that the structure of the universe is in the pairs of opposites. The mind functions in that way, in a very real sense.
It does.
That's the plan. The plan is that we do get caught up into in this, because that's the prism. The mind is the prism. You know, the I am is the light. And then it gets into this prism, that divides it up. I am this, I am good, I am bad. It's, I mean, you can't say there's a plan, but for, the sake of conversation, it's in the design itself, I mean, it's not hard to fathom why there's so few people, that, that perhaps understand the prism for what it is.
What Bob is saying is that it's simple, and that the ego drives us to difficult and complicated. So one of my favorite analogies when I'm talking to people about this stuff is the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so here you are, Dorothy. You want to follow the yellow brick road. We all do. We want to follow it, and we want to go the difficult and complicated route. We're going to go lions and tigers and bears, and we want to try to kill some damn witch so we can go home. And it's really simple and easy. All we got to do is click our heels 3 times. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Boom. We're there. We're awakened to the dream, the other dream. She's there.
I know, what an incredible pointer.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
So, did the guy that wrote this story?
Why do you think though?
He's a former alcoholic.
Why do you
Was he
think?
really?
Why do you think that's still on television every single year?
Yeah, really.
Because it resonates,
It
just
resonates.
like
I've
Star
never seen
Wars.
it.
It resonates.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Oh,
it.
you've never seen it?
They have it here. You guys will have to see it before you go ahead.
Oh.
You've never seen The Wizard of Oz?
I
He
saw
did
it when
when
I
he
was
was
a
a
kid.
child.
Oh,
About
I've never seen it.
11,
Oh,
12,
yes,
13.
I
it's
think
still
it's-
one of my favorites.
I think it's the greatest Vaden movie there is.
That's a
That
wonderful
is so
movie.
great, you are so right.
I never thought
I
of it
still
that
know
way,
all the
but
songs.
You're right.
Oh my God.
But there's a lot of stories. In fact, it's a very popular theme, the idea of going way out there to find happiness and realizing it's always been where you are. I mean, there's a lot of stories like that. I mean, it's a popular theme because there's some recognition of the truth of it. Songs too. What's that? Oh, The Wizard of Oz.
So,
Oz,
how
Land
many
of Oz.
plays that?
That's a depiction
Oh,
of
how
Oz,
Attack! 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 Attack!
Actually, it's not a photo, but
Oh, this is the movie.
yeah, but it's good. Hey Barb, how you like the Florida beaches? Okay, there's a shot of Bob and Barbara watching the dolphins. Told you there was dolphins. Every day I've been looking for the dolphins. Finally they're here. One without the other? That's a good shot.
There's a hidden lagoon behind us too.
That's what put the guys behind the device.
Which one was that?
They're all the same. The guy who looks like he has eyeliner on.
Oh, yes. Leota? Oh, you
For that reason alone, I'd like to see that again.
that wasn't a great movie.
The movie Man.
Good comedy footage here.
I was asking Bob, thoughts and questions have come to me since, reading over a period of time now. And one of them is the aspect of different, like, spirits. For instance, channeling. When people say they get information, and I mean, there's lots of channel people, personalities, entities. And my own thought, and what I was asking Bob, is like, okay, if we're all one, then any knowledge, because we're omniscient, would we would all have access to. But when we tap into a wisdom that seems apart from us, like greater than us or not from our own mind thinking of it, what has happened there? I mean, how would you explain that?
You're talking about channels and things like that.
Yeah, we can call it that, but yeah, that would be one instance.
That's where they get people in, thinking that, you know, you need to go to something. If you are that omnipresence, omniscience,
Uh-huh,
what is it? The source is within you.
right.
You need to get second-hand information.
So, just because you might feel that this is wisdom, that you don't know where you acquired it from,
Yeah,
you
there's
still...
See if the battery's off.
There's wisdom in you, but you don't know where you acquired it from.
Right.
Like, in other words, little insights come up and things like that.
Oh, yeah, know things.
Yeah. So, is there any, again, you are the source. If you are that omniscient,
Right.
these insights are coming. They're appearing in that, on that essence that you are, as thoughts, feelings, or
Right.
words, or concepts.
Okay, I'm there with you. Okay, then let me ask you this. If there's an intelligence energy, and we're energy, and we're all one, but we each have a resonance, isn't that a word that you use to describe, like your energy might resonate in one way, and mine may be differently, but we might be on sort of a similar frequency. I mean, does like attract like here?
Yes, it's the one energy.
Uh-huh.
But that energy can go in any direction whatsoever. It's like electric current going through an electric motor. You can put the switch one way, it'll spin the motor that way,
And we,
the other way. But you see, and so, if, you know, in the functioning universe, what, for instance, brings the male-female together,
Uh-huh.
that energy, doesn't it?
right,
Resonance, where the procreation takes place. Life continues that way, you see.
uh-huh,
So it'll attract you to certain people or wherever that life is pulling you or taking you.
and cannot your energy resonance become higher, or operating on a higher frequency where the experience that you have and the things you create or manifest or draw to you become less, more beautiful, more grand?
You see, for a start off, it's not your energy. It's the one universal energy that's
Okay.
that's expressing as this manifestation, this universe. And it expresses in all diversity, in all the opposites, and higher and lower are opposites also.
Right.
So it can easily expresses what you call higher or lower patterns, like you might call an animal a lower pattern than the human pattern or something like that. But it's the same energy,
Right.
it's vibrating as everything. So as I say, in this life or this expression as we are, it's expressing as we are so-called humans, and as I pointed out before, it'll bring to you, or bring into that resonance, or resonate with you, attract you to whatever is necessary for, there's not a, for that pattern to be fulfilled, or whatever it needs to be carried out. Carrie will say this is destiny again. But you see, that's the way it functions. It's not one chaotic mass out there.
Right.
Like the whole lot. From our point, from a reference point, it might seem like chaos. But if you got out there 15 billion light years away and were able to overlook the whole lot, you'd see it'd be a very orderly chaos. Very orderly. It's all working out as it should. Taken from a narrow viewpoint, as you can see, with all the things that are going on in the world, you say, well, this is horrible, this is terrible. It might be for that particular reference point. But overall, things are functioning as they should. And there's no should about it. Use terms. So, as I say, with a channeler, yeah, people go to a channeler, think they're going to get something, and the channeler puts on some ancient from 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, and that sounds attractive to most people. But if you, and they don't understand or they haven't looked along these lines, and they believe they are entities that are going to get somewhere at some time, and think if they get in touch with this, it tells them gives them some information or something, they'll be much better. Not realising they are the source themselves. So you don't need to go to second-hand information when you can go directly to the source yourself. As you say yourself, little wisdoms are coming up within you, insights are coming up. You see, it'll come up in you. You might hear what's said here and not understand it. But if it's been heard through the heart instead of trying to nut it out with the head, a few days later you might be going about your business, doing work or whatever you're doing, and all of a sudden it'll come up. Something will come up that you heard in your own words, and you'll say, oh, that was that thing. And there will be that knowing of that, and then it's yours. It's not wherever you heard it from anymore. It's manifested or expressed in some way that's understood from in the words, whatever you like to say, or you know, or your knowledge or whatever. It's understood. So questions answer themselves after all.
Well, that's it. That's why I hate to answer a question, because ask, because then it's just, you come back to the same place. You know, when you really go through it, that's what I find anyway.
And that's what the realisation is. You come back to the same place. That you were always that one. What you're seeking, you already are, and always and never have been. You can't move away from it, nor can you get back to it. But we seemingly do by getting into the mind story. And understanding the nature of the mind is always to divide. You'll understand it'll keep taking you down the track, just like all the veins and blood vessels divide and in your body and keep going in all directions continually. So it does in the thought process. And the thought process, when brought right back to its essence, is still just another vibration, a movement of energy.
Well, it strikes me that we are all so born into the ego that as children we're possibly told by our parents, you're so clever you can do anything, or we might have parents who say, look, just keep your place in life, you know, your brain isn't this. So you have the pairs of opposites even within the ego, the up and the down. And so the majority cannot, you're not aware of who and what you are not the things that are put upon you, but what you really are. Therefore, it's very easy to always be searching for someone outside yourself to be making you better or knowing more than you. And this business of the ancients, they had to live a life in that time. They were just another. So why should they come 3,000 years later and be able to tell us how to live better, you know? It's concepts that are put upon us. And as Bob was saying, once you let go of that there is no one out there, no one better, because there is no, you know, there's no other. And there's no one better, no one less. And what I found from this, what I got from it, was the confidence to just be and be okay. You know, not searching up or down or sideways anywhere. Just recognize, oh, wow, I am that. You know? And so it's become such a business suddenly, even more so in the modern time, for there to be somebody out there, someone else out, and I can, for a few $100, get them channeled through, you know? It's really a matter of confidence in knowing what you already are.
In terms of Judy's questioning, there's a book called Course in Miracles. You ever hear of that book?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so here's this Jewish woman, who, devout Jewish woman, starts saying that there's someone speaking to her of all this stuff about Christianity, Jesus, and God. So what we're saying is that it's really not someone coming, it's just, but yet she's hearing those voices. She's saying that she's hearing these voices, but she's not even hearing it, it's just DNA, RNA structure of that information.
There's a statement in the Bible. Thou shalt hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it, whether you turn to the left or turn to the right. You're not hearing any outside. It's intuition, it's spontaneous. It's saying, no, don't go there, go this way, or whatever.
Mhm.
The same with Moses on the mountain. He's sitting on the mountain contemplating or meditating or whatever he was doing, and the voice comes to him and recites all these tablets, which were the 10 Commandments or whatever it was. And he said, and the thought comes to him, take these down back to your people. And he's saying, well, who shall I say sent me? And he gets this idea or concept or whatever way it comes to him, tell them I am sent you. And Moses realises then and there, this is not something outside of himself, he's hearing all these things, that's where he's calling it the voice of God, but it's, and Moses realises that I am that I am. No difference. So it's nothing outside, or inside, how it comes through. It might come through as a voice or words or some insight or whatever. But there's nothing other than that essence that you have. And it's not particular to you, it's not an essence of particular one particular pattern, it's an overall essence that's emanating, enlivening the whole lot of what we call us here. There's no one sitting here now, or any other time, can say, I am not, can you? We all know I am. We're all aware of being. And if we take the label off the beingness and try and set, like the word human being and the word supreme being, take the labels off, try and separate the beingness. Everything in this room is being. That's being a table, that's being a chair, that's being a cup, that's being Judy, that's being Emmett. Take the chair, table, cup, Judy and Emmett off, separate the beingness without the label. So when we say, it might be a voice we think particular to us, it's the overall essence. It's being.
It's the other thing in that too. This is only like what I've experienced myself, but when some, I don't know what it's called, or some thoughts come to you like that, we have been taught not to be so egotistical as to think that those concepts could have come to you, or those thoughts. So it has to be from somewhere greater. So it's a guide or a something. And I shared about with somebody here, I was talking to about, my son was hit by a car. And Bob and I came down, and there he was lying, his entire face smashed in. And, you know, it was obviously dying. And in that moment, I just said to myself, I remember that, God, if he's going to be impaired, mentally impaired, let him go. Because it was more than my brain could cope with, I'm sure, I was lifted out of even the brain thinking, and I felt almost as if I were lifted up. And no voice said it's going to be all right, but I knew it was going to be all right, and he was all right. You know, the difference, that the concept, oh my God, this and that, but even that concept of anything was too much for me, so I was out of my own thinking, but the oneness essence, something told me it was going to be all right, and I was able to relax. You know, so that I had I suppose, an experience, but of the difference of the mind thinking 1 minute, hell, he's dying and everything. But it wasn't my other, like if I'd been logically thinking, I wouldn't have let go of that thought, because he apparently was dying.
Everything was very rapidly, all sorts of things happened. It was all, underneath it was, there was always that underlying that sense of knowing that everything's okay. Even though all that sense of, loss of what we're going to do now or what's going to happen next. That, there is that sense. The base is not touched, it's not contaminated. That's the essence.
Would you comment or say, there's so many times, and call it magic in life or synchronicity, or when you see something and it's a sign or a message for you, and it's usually things in nature for me, but it can be anything, those moments in life that are, you feel like they're special and holy in some way, if that's a word to use.
I don't, but can I just stop you
Yes.
there? But I have to say it's a reference point, because when I go to panic over anything, I'm taken back to that.
For you, if nothing else, then God is with you, or that this presence is all around us and alive and dynamic and wonderful. And sometimes this sounds kind of hokey, but you can see it in all kinds of different things. I mean, everything to me, what is a poet that says, every bush is alive with the fire of God, that sort of thing when you need it. Like somebody will show up at the door to fix the pump that we didn't know was broken, but then when they get there, we find out that it is. That sort of thing. It just seems to me like it's an energy level, or that where everything's synchronicitous, I guess is the best word to say to it. Are you, that's still just my reference point?
No, that's what I
I was going to say, don't take it so personally.
That's right.
You mean
That's
assuming?
That's what I call effortless living.
Infinite.
Effortless living.
Effortless living, yes. But
Well, you
how
might
does
say
that
this-
happen?
You might say this body taking an active part in it, but still it falls into place so simply and easily,
So it's just always there. It's just a matter of
It happens.
relaxing into it.
It happens more so when that resistance, which is the idea of a separate entity,
Mhm.
gets in the road. Where it gets out of the road, when it's seen, the resistance is recognised. And the energy's got a chance of free flowing.
That
All-
is it. That is
All
it.
that
The resistance.
entity is there, there's resistance. Because
The
you see-
resistance is gone.
the thought is just a translation of what is going on.
Right. Effortless living.
So can you have an honest expectation then when you're in this place?
Huh?
Like where we go to this place in Costa Rica, that energy is there in very simple ways. And so it just is. And so after seeing that happen, this is the same thing that Judy's talking about. It happens and it happens and it happens and it happens. And then, do we have a right to expect that? We're always thankful for it.
Is the energy there, or is it here, or is it anywhere in particular?
It's everywhere. It's just
Sure.
where you're not
Well,
resisting
we're more aware
it.
of it. That's right. We do resist there because you can just be.
And maybe there's so few people there that are resisting it that it just flows
Probably,
better.
yeah. Sure.
Bob, wouldn't you say that what comes to mind for me with this is that there's a tendency to create a reference point out of that experience. In other words, there's a synchronicitous experience. Someone shows up to fix something that isn't broken, you refer that back to your life, yourself. But what occurs to me is that there is no reference point here. There is no isolated, separate entity here. And that energy and intelligence is, we're simply that. So something happening that seems to benefit this mind-body organism or not benefit this mind-body organism is, in a sense, is just part of the functioning, I don't know if I probably didn't say that, but does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, no doubt the universe is functioning as it should. That's what it says in the Desiderata, wasn't it?
I've been looking for a copy of that forever.
Therefore,
You
the
are
existent
that
God.
energy, you are that.
Copy of what?
Desiderata.
And you see, and putting
Oh, yes.
a sort of seeming entity on it, then you start dividing, well, this is spiritual, and the other thing is not.
I see, yeah.
Yeah. But if you understand that there's one without a second, there's nothing you can say is not spiritual, nor is there anything you can say that is spiritual. That's the one essence without either of those labels on it. But understanding that, and not functioning, seeing the falseness of that entity that you believe yourself to be before, you're allowing that, that there's no you in there. The energy then is free to flow, where it's always referred to a dead image. It's a blockage of it. Our reference point is invalid because it's a reference point based on the past. So we're constantly referring back to that dead image. Instead of being, we want, then from that dead image we think we've got to do something to become. But there's no becoming, because becoming implies time. We can still only be.
Okay, so let me ask you this, I'll get personal about James. So if all the knowledge is coming from us, and I'm just following you here, I'm just reiterating, and when James says astrology, the knowledge that he has about the person, or a chart, is knowledge that is coming intuitively and also from his skill, and then he can read that using that language of the stars to draw up the wisdom that he's drawing on. Would that be
Now, are the stars separate from you?
no?
Gig's up, James, you're out of business. Hit the road.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get this, like, where
But didn't you hear that?
yes, I do. But we still try to communicate, though. I mean, they're
But we've
different.
left home in doing everything, and that's what's just striking me, listening to my own book conversation, everything. We are not recognizing every second a million, billion miracles happening right here. The only time we sort of think, well, if something seems wrong, oh, this is wrong, well, we don't count the billion things that are happening every second that apparently right. It's not right, but it is a happening. But for some reason we're taking this for granted. We're all sitting here talking about outer things, but why even question it when you think about the oneness right here, right now? You know? Yeah.
It's saying that aren't the stars affecting you, if it's the one essence. Of course, you're any different from the stars. You're not. You're affecting the stars as much as they're affecting you. Because it's the one essence. If somebody has the talent or the ability to read that, or so-called somebody, don't you know you're nothing?
Oh God, I am nothing.
Then, that's how the functioning is happening there too. See, we try to make some big deal out of everything. And again, it comes about because it goes into the mind. And the mind being only able to function in the vibrations, it'll be better or worse, higher or lower, nearer or further away, or whatever division we like to put in it. But you see, somebody could ring me up from Melbourne right now. And to them there, what's today, Sunday, is it? It's probably Monday over there. And here it's Sunday. And am I speaking to him yesterday? Or is he speaking to me tomorrow? Now, it says now. 15 billion light years away is now. As soon as you think of 15 billion light years, you've got the conceptual image of it. It's now. So that star 15 billion light years. Watch it. It's got your name written on it.
Now she's got some more wrinkles thinking about it.
All right, Del.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a 3-word question. And the middle word is a word that I don't know how to put into place here. And I think I know the answer. Do you meditate?
And understanding that there's no one to meditate and nothing to meditate on, I can't be out of meditation. It's a natural meditation that goes on spontaneously and effortlessly all the time. There is no distraction.
Is self-inquiry meditation?
Pardon?
When I'm doing self-inquiry, is that meditation?
It's investigation. I
It's
wouldn't say
investigation.
meditation.
So what's the difference between investigation and meditation?
Pardon?
What's the difference between investigation and meditation?
Well, as far as I understand meditation, you sit in meditation trying to still the mind, trying to go. In self-inquiry, you're inquiring with the mind to find out that there is no mind.
Good one.
So in your process with Nisargadatta, was that more for you for your this awakening, for your awakening process? Was this involved with self-inquiry, or was this involved with Ghani transmission? Ghani transmission, however you pronounce that word.
There was no process for me. Because even though I didn't know it at the time, there was no me. But there was a revealing through the pointing out, revealing or revelation, if you like, to say that I was able to see in the immediacy of the moment. I didn't see it a moment before or a moment after, in the immediacy of the moment, but there was no entity here. I wasn't this body, nor was I this mind. There was no entity there that I could refer to with any actuality. But in that seeing of that, or understanding, or knowing, whatever term you like to put on, I didn't disappear, I didn't fall apart, I didn't die. I just was as is, just as is, the isness, the beingness. And that, you don't have to be a rose scholar to sit there and realise right now, any of you, that beingness is with you right now. And you look back over your life and seeing it's constantly with you. See, I can ask you something you did when you were a little kid, and you can tell me some story about something that happened to you. I will say, how do you know? Then you'll say, I know. I say, well, did you have the same body as you have now? And you will say, no, that body has changed. So it can't be that body. Every cell in that body has been replaced in that time. And I'll say, did you have the same image about yourself as you have now? And you can only say, no, I certainly didn't, because since that time you've reached puberty, all sorts of things have happened, and the image of you has constantly changed. I say, so what was it that knew? What was it that knew? What was it? That knowingness was there, the same knowingness that's there now, which everything has appeared on and disappeared on. So you see from that, that essence, that knowingness, has never been contaminated by any of the traumas or traumas or anything that's ever happened to you. It's been untouched. And it's the immediacy of you right now, before you try to work out what I'm saying. Not work out, or another thoughts coming up, before anything. But that sense of presence is constantly and ever with you. And to the mind, it is no thing. It's no thing that you can ever grasp with a thought or a concept. So, you're nothing.
Look who thinks he's nothing.
Are the words knowing and being the same?
Yes. The exists Satchitananda. That's what the Hindus call the Godhead, Satchitananda. Another word for Sat is existence. Another word for Chit is consciousness. And Ananda is be, or is bliss, you know. So changing that around. And those three things are not one. Are not three things, three separate things, I should say. They're the one thing, three different aspects of it. So another word for, again, existence is being. Another word for consciousness is knowing. Another word for Ananda is loving to be. So they're both the same thing.
Loving to be.
Loving to be.
You love to be. You would be dead for...
And that's another word for what?
And then you said in.
Being.
Ananda, Ananda.
Oh, Ananda.
Loving to be.
Okay, Ananda.
You love it, we all love to be. And we know that. The being and knowing and loving to be is ever with you. So that is actually what you are. That's Satchitananda right there. You're not something you've got to get or acquire or attain. You've never been anything other than that. And that's how Aguinaldo puts it even in another way. He says awareness, which is the consciousness of being, which is the existence. Awareness of being is bliss.
Huh?
Yeah, I'll go to them.
Awareness
Of being.
of
is
being
bliss.
is bliss.
Isn't it?
Yeah, must be.
Well, don't you love to be? Don't you like being alive?
So, excuse me, but what about this word love?
Well, it all depends what love you're talking about. If you talk about the love-hate relationship, and that's always in the pairs of opposites, that's a mind thing. But if you're talking about the uncaused love, that is the light again of being. Love is another term for light. First time I saw the love light in your eyes, I get carried a cigarette. There's a light, you know, that light of the being that swells up through you and lights up your eyes. And I don't know whether you've killed an animal or not, seen an animal die, or anybody die or anything. First thing that goes, their eyes glaze over, the light goes out. That light is love. So again, even the light of the sun, don't you feel warm as soon as you step in the sunlight?
Yeah, I would
Here.
say so.
This is why we're here.
It's a little too loving down here, let me tell you.
But it warms the earth. And out of that warmth, life comes. Into the earth, into the water, and into that warmth. The mother hen sits on the egg. And it's the light, or the love, or the warmth
Goes right through
that keeps
the heart.
hatching, and that will hatch those eggs.
That reminds me of a poem by Hafiz. You ever hear of Hafiz?
Yes.
Sufi poet, 1320 to 1389. His poem was, even after all this time, the sun does not say to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky.
Very good.
Yeah.
We're very proud of you. We
That's
love
cool.
our feats.
He understood.
Yeah. There's another poem, I only remember a couple of lines of it, but he said, God only speaks 4 words. Come dance with me. I love that.
Again, he understood.
I know lots of Hafiz's poems. God blooms from the shoulder of the elephant that is courteous to the ant.
You're smart little cookie, you.
I read lots of Hafiz.
We love Hafiz, I love him too. Also, happy with God. goofy.
Okay, here's another question.
With the whole presence feats, right?
Presently, it seems like this veil of clarity, if you want to call it clarity, or awakening, or whatever you want to label you want to put to it, it seems that it's easily being more accessible or available to people now. Is it that way, or has it always been that way?
Well,
I know we're talking about timeless and spacelessness doesn't really exist, but it seems that this search for self-realization seems to be in a real fad or fashion mode or whatever it is. I think you know what I'm trying to get at.
yeah. In the series of timeless events,
In what? In what?
in the series of timeless events, you'll see, years ago,
You can't even say it without laughing. I don't believe it.
somebody would be sitting in India or China, a Taoist or a Zen Buddhist or whatever, or an ancient in the cave somewhere would have this understanding, and possibly only the local villagers around him would be able to, he'd be able to communicate to them. Out of that might be one or two, say. Or somebody would walk a few miles and spread the word of it, and there'd be very little happening. But there was still enough to carry the message on. And over the years, communication and travel has sort of progressed and words getting around more. So take, for instance, this Ramana Maharshi in the West here is regarded as one of the greatest sages ever. But at that time when he was teaching, the Nisargadatta was teaching. Not only Nisargadatta, but Nisargadatta's guru. And there would probably be quite a few others in India. But the difference was, Paul Brunton and Arthur Osborne went to, and stumbled across Ramana Maharshi somewhere, and brought it back to the West. And that was the only one the West ever heard of from the East at the time. Or there might have been Yogananda and a couple of minor other ones, you know. And so he's a big noise out here. But to most of the Indians, he's just another thing, you see.
Mm.
And so, again, so it goes on. And when China invaded Tibet, oh, people said, what a terrible thing, you know, those spiritual people, look what's happened to them, they're driven out of there. It was the greatest thing that ever happened. Because up till that time, Tibet was a closed book. You couldn't get in there. And there was very little of the spiritual knowledge would ever get out. And what did get out was translated by people who had no knowledge of their understanding, didn't even have a proper knowledge of Tibetan. You can get the example of that book I talk about, Self-Liberation Through Seeing with Naked Awareness. And a bloke called Evan Wentz went there years in the 20s or 30s and translated a couple of Tibetan books, which you read the book of his translation with the translation today, and totally different altogether. It's a beautiful little booklet, though, you know. But now, with them going into India, the Tibetans going, they took a lot of these ancient texts and scriptures with them. People from the West who were interested in spiritual search went over there, learned Tibetan properly, did the so-called practices of the Tibetan Buddhism, and were able to translate them accurately. And there's a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of scriptural knowledge and understanding that's come through that. And then, of course, computers have come into it, and where today, you know, like even in from 1936 to 74 or 75, 73 when I Am That was printed, there'd be very, very few people that ever heard of Nisargadatta. But he still had the same message he had in 1980 and when he died in 1981. But by that time, people were starting to hear about him and starting to flock to him through that book. You see, books were another way of getting to it. So today, with the computers, there's more and more people able to grasp it. But they're still only touching a very small percentage of the world population.
Mhm.
And even most of them today are saying you've got to do certain paths and go for years and years. Well, I am saying it's immediate. It's direct and immediate right now. It's open to anybody. It always has been and always will be. And even the few that get this time, if there's a few, they will be able to pass it on to a few, and that way it grows like everything else. So, it's got to balance out, you see. It's got to balance out in the world.
So as more people become stepping into that clarity,
No, we can't.
Yeah, okay.
We'll let you go
Yeah,
on that one.
let me off the hook on that one. Is it affecting, what is it affecting? What is it?
Well, what is it it's affecting? The world's problems are based on that belief in a sense, in a separate entity. Separation, the idea of separation is the world's problems. You see, what we talk about, Nisarga means natural. Nisarga data function for natural. The data is an addition to it. Dattatreya was the primal guru. He was supposed to be the legendary first guru that ever was. Like, of course, if there ever was one.
Who was it?
What was it?
Dattatreya. The Abhidhamma Gita is supposed to be written by Dattatreya, if you ever read that one. So he's made his name up Nisarga Datta, you see, from that. But this is the natural state. Now, natural just means nature. You have a look at nature. Nature is functioning all right. It's not all goody-goody on one side. The pairs of opposites are functioning there quite naturally. If it's winter, it's winter. If it's, it's not saying shit, I wish it was summertime, or something like that. It's winter, it's summer, and it's autumn, it's spring. The tides come in, they take 4 hours to come in, stay in for 4 hours, take 4 hours to go out, stay out for 4 hours. Quite a natural balance. Pairs of opposites constantly manifesting, because the whole manifestation is dualism. Seasons come and go, tides come and go. The Earth's, going around the sun, there's day and night. All these opposites are happening in nature, and the same intelligence energy, it's beating your heart, it's growing hair in your fingernails, it's digesting the food, all quite evidently. And there's no conflict in any of that. No conflict whatsoever. But when the sense of separation came upon us, we're immediately in conflict. Because the sense of separation brings with it, to that little child when he first realises he's separate, it brings with it isolation, insecurity and vulnerability. He feels alone, and with that aloneness or separateness comes insecurity and vulnerability. And all the world's problems arise from that. You have, a person rapes, what for? He gets some sense of self-gratification out of that. It's seemingly appeasing that self for a while. A person murdered. One nation takes over another nation because it gives that nation a sense of, a self-centered. I'm more secure, not so insecure, and all the rest of it. A whole lot of it goes on. And all our suffering, our psychological suffering, comes about because of that sense of separation. You can it's only in me that to be anxious, fearful, full of self-pity, depressed, or unhappy, or ungratified, whatever. It's only that in me because it doesn't feel fulfilled, it doesn't feel complete, it's separate. And our whole life, instead of looking in and seeing the obvious, that we were never separate, we are nature. We're not separate from nature, we are nature. You're not separate from the air. Your body's made up of air, it's one of the elements. You're not separate from the earth, your body's made up of earth, one of the elements. You're not separate from water, your body's made up of water. You see? What was I up to? That sense of separation being out, that's all our problems ever are. I lost the train of thought, David, that doesn't matter.
I saw that.
It's Adam and Eve all over again, isn't it?
Yeah. Ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Good and evil are the pairs of opposites. The pairs of opposites came in where before they were just functioning in those opposites as those opposites, there was no problem. So, so that's what it is. That sense of separation is the cause of all our problems. And that's what the world's problems are. In understanding that there is no separation, what's going to happen? And that's self-centered. You know, I know there's no me here through my investigation. I know whether you do or not that there's no me there. So from that point of view, can you be superior to me? Can you be inferior to me? So, do I want anything of yours from that point of view? Because if you, I know you and I are one, what you have got is mine anyway. You've just taken care of it.
So somebody who is living almost totally without a reference point, because I don't think anybody lives completely without one. It always comes up a little bit.
No, even though it comes up, has it got any
No.
power? Has
No.
it got any independent nature?
So for
it can appear to be. The opposites still appear in nature.
Right. So for a person whose reference point rarely comes up or comes up and dissipates pretty quickly, when they look out in the world, they really don't suffer over the war here, the war there, hearing terrible things. They don't suffer over that because there's no sense of separation. At the same time, if they were there watching it happen, it wouldn't be pleasant.
There wouldn't be still, there'd be still no sense of separation,
There's-
but they might be moved to respond in some way or other. You know.
But there'd be no sense of separation, so there'd be no suffering from it either.
No.
But there might be a movement to do something to change it.
Yes, like if you've got a long toenail, you're not separate from your toe or your toenail. But if it's causing you holes in your socks or something, you're going to cut the toenail, aren't you?
Right. Right.
So you've
Got a couple of things dug out of my neck the other
acupuncture
day,
has us
a few weeks ago.
right
What?
in that moment.
I say I got a couple of things dug out of my neck a few years ago. They're still the body, but they weren't in harmony with the body.
But your original question was about whether there are more people coming to this knowledge now than there were before.
Right, and it might be also too that I'm thinking is that there's more people on the planet.
That's right, it's percentages
Yeah.
again, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's
Right.
yeah.
Because as Bob was saying, like nearly every tribe had its outlook on some form of spiritual thing, didn't it? So everybody was into that particular aspect. And then the world has just grown, more people are growing, there's more numbers, and with that, the knowledge is possibly, I don't know, but it's obvious that it's pro rata almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because very few, not so many people are going to the churches, but they'll look at the computer maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So you could never really assess, could you?
No.
Like, are you looking and hoping that the world is changing in general? It doesn't need to change because it's as it is.
Mhm.
Whatever's
Yeah,
happening.
that's what I'm saying
Yes.
is, as
Like
if
a
all
lot
these,
of people are saying, oh, the world's becoming more spiritual and all this stuff. But only their own assessment and in their mind that it needs to be like that even.
Yeah.
Because there is no such thing as more spiritual, is there?
No.
And just even sitting here is just
But
happening.
what I was trying to get at is as the veil is dropping for more individuals, more beings, then is that affecting the space that this space is holding? Is it affecting, as the quantum physics would say,
Yeah.
this is string theory, everything, like you're saying, Judy's connected to the star, because the quantum physics say that everything is connected in this web of individual strings. So by more and more people bringing ourselves into that web, if you want to look at that as a quantum physics look at it, then how is that affecting what's being?
The essence is never affected.
Okay.
Just as I pointed out here before, when you're a little child, and you said you knew when the story was. Your body's changed, and the image you had about yourself changed. But is that base in which it's all appeared on, has that changed? The thing we never look at is the wakefulness itself. Has that ever changed? Has that changed throughout the day? The base on which all the events and experiences happen today, all the thoughts have that happened, has the base, that wakefulness changed? Has it? You learn direct experience right now. Have a look and see. Just ordinary, commonplace, everyday wakefulness. Right? You know that you're awake. Prior to that, you were asleep. Nothing was happening in the sleep, unless there was a consciousness stirring and you were dreaming. So all the events of the day have happened on that awareness or wakefulness.
So if there were 3 billion people that were totally awake, out of half the population, the stuff that's going on in Iraq and wherever is still going to happen anyway.
It may or it may not. Maybe it won't. It may be it won't. We don't even have to conceptualise it because it's not now. It'll be irrelevant.
But I find my mind getting caught up with your question even by you, because you sort of think, yeah, and maybe there's 1 million people in the world thinking this way and then they'll multiply. But are your kids into it? No, ours aren't. But Bob's spoken to a certain number of people, so you don't know whether, you know, so you start doing this mathematical thing which is not relevant at all, is it?
No.
I just,
I think there's also a tendency, you know, I mean, I kind of, I know I have it myself. Once you become absorbed in this, you know, all of a sudden you go on the internet and you see, you look at Tony Parsons and you look at Ramesh and you look at, and you're immersed in it. And so there's a sense it's everywhere. You know?
yes.
But, you know, Bob's book, which is, you know, probably the best one that any of these guys have ever written, has sold 1,000 copies. You know, that's not a big number. You know? So, or 750 copies.
It's early yet. Wait for his United States tour.
Exactly. Well, we're going to promote that with circus animals.
Yeah, we didn't have to.
We're gonna get him on Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer.
Bob's
Well, he's a
Advaita
fellow.
is the way. Advaita is not the way. And then there'll be the
Exactly.
fights and the.
Bob slept with my daughter. You know, you'll come running in, be the surprise guest, you know.
Wasn't he lucky?
You'd have to know the Jerry Springer show. It's kind of
Yeah,
one of those.
They know the Jerry
Oh, they
Springer.
do?
love
Oh,
it.
we do.
He lives here.
Gosh, we put it on
lives
the
here. He lives in
so
Burke.
funny.
Yes,
He does?
He lives-
Yeah.
He was in the restaurant with us the other
Yeah, I
night.
saw
Oh,
him.
you're kidding?
Yeah.
Really?
He's got 3 kept women
I mean,
that
it's not
paid
so
$60
far-fetched,
a
Gary.
minute.
Seriously? You know, society, Bob, as we know it, wouldn't really exist if everybody had this understanding. Because their society's based on me and the other.
Yeah.
So if everyone, you know,
There wouldn't be any Jerry
there wouldn't be any,
Springer.
there wouldn't be a society as we know it.
So let's keep it a secret, eh?
Well, that seems to be what the source wants
It's working.
to do, right?
Yeah.
And then we're superior too, because there won't be too many.
Well, we're superior, we all know that, because we have this understanding, so we're
But
definitely
of
superior.
course.
Okay, last night I asked you a question. I said, who in this room is enlightened or awake? And your answer was, we all are. Okay? So I was just going through some things that I remembered in Nisargadatta, and there was a question is, if they asked Nisargadatta if Ramana came in here into the room, would you recognize him as a liberated man? And he says, of course. As a man recognizes a man, so Agani recognizes Agani. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. You cannot appreciate what you have not experienced. You are what you think yourself to be, but you cannot think yourself to be what you have not experienced.
Oh, complicated.
Yeah. But as I say, you might know that you are, but I know that you are. Because you couldn't be anything else. And if you've got that ignorant belief that you're not, well, that the energy goes in that belief and makes it so. Doesn't it say that the Esther aggregator? No, something, you know, recognise that you are that or something. You simply, if you see the translation, it means something. You can't be anything other than that, whether you know it or not. Well, and the Vedas, they say, from Brahma down to a clump of grass, even the clump of grass is there.
But also in there, somewhere I read, I don't know where it was, but he talks about,
But, you know, getting back to that, that's why, if I keep telling you that, maybe you'll hear it.
So just the word entity, that sometimes used, have no meaning because it's a separateness.
Yeah,
The word enlightenment also has no meaning. If everybody's enlightened, everybody's that.
that's right.
There's no such thing
Yeah.
as awakening or enlightenment. Everybody's in the same state. Some are suffering horribly, some are living a state of freedom, but they're all in essence the same. So the term enlightenment is a joke.
Mm.
Of course it's not if you think it's real and you're chasing it. Then it's...
That's all it is, what we think.
Hmm?
That's how we think about it.
Right.
Even Shakespeare knew that. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Right.
Christ knew that. He said, which of you can, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to his stature? You can think as much as you like.
so some of the, Pat and I were talking about this morning, is the problem, I mean, I know for myself because I'm so analytical, is that my damn left brain gets so into this that you can't comprehend it.
Right?
And you know, it's like, okay, stop, enough.
Yes, right.
Yeah, exactly. You see, do you hear what you're saying there? I am so analytical. Putting that label on yourself, the energy of beliefs going in it. Then it's my damn left brain does this, you know, mine, this, my, that, you know. Has your left brain got any power if that life essence is not in it?
No.
And who was analytical? And that thought, I am analytical, can that got any power? Has it got any independent nature?
No, that analytical is part of that socio upbringing of the knowledge that I've had after I was 2 years old. It was the training, you know, sit, beg, you know, the whole thing like you train a dog, you know, it's the same thing. And so how do I untrain?
Just stop doing it, full stop.
Full stop.
That's easy for you to say. Stop.
Well, that, you know, what she's saying is right. What, you know, you say you take that as my conditioning, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, what conditioning is there right now if you're not thinking about it?
No, there's no conditioning.
Right. Well, that's
No thing.
That's got rid of you all your conditioning in one instant. Why take it up again? This Bank, he says, everything is perfectly resolved in the unborn Buddha mind. Everything is perfectly resolved there in the unborn mind. And he says, why exchange the unborn for thoughts? On that unborn, there seemingly comes thoughts which you believe to be real. But if you see that the thoughts come and go, but the unborn, the pure essence in which it all appears, never changes. That's constantly and ever with you.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't exchanged it for the transient, which is thoughts. You stay in the unborn, in the reality. The definition of reality is that which never changes. And all you've got to look and see this whole manifestation around you, thoughts, emotions, feelings, as well as the world, is constantly changing. And from some reference points, you know, the mountains and the oceans and the earth might seem to take a bit longer, other things, but they're changing. There's a bit chips off the mountain today, you know, as the sun warms it and the cool cracks it a little bit, the wind comes and blows a bit away. They're constantly, everything is constantly changing. But that which you are, the no thing, nothing can be added to it, nothing can be taken away from it. And that no thing contains everything. But something can't come from nothing, so the everything is nothing also. So you don't even take any notice of the manifestation, can
Is your mind blown?
My analytical mind?
Any mind, is it blown?
My analytical mind.
So is the word God used in Advaita teaching? Is the word?
you? They use it. I don't use it much. Simply, purely and simply because the word God starts so many different concepts in different people. It all depends again on your background. If you're an atheist, you'll say crap. If you're a Catholic, you'll say that's Hinduism, I don't want anything to do with that. Or if you're Protestant, something else again. Whatever your concept is of God can get you lost in that concept, and you try and relate it to that. But intelligence energy is quite simple as far as I know. It might be to some people. To me, it suits me. You can say what you like.
No, it's so much better because maybe from having been a Catholic with that indoctrination, the word God is just not for me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit for me. But there's